Good evening. I'm YAMO. Tonight's report examines a process that is often misunderstood. Not conquest, not occupation, but dismantling. Specifically, how colonialism systematically dismantled institutions that once structured governance, law, economy, and public life across much of the world. This matters because many modern crises are explained as failures of culture or leadership. But history shows the collapse came, institutions were removed. Not before. Before colonial rule, societies across North Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia were institutionally dense, with courts that enforced contracts, markets regulated by law, and public services funded by endowments. These systems were functional, stable, and locally rooted. Colonial rule did not abolish these institutions. It reframed them. The first target was law. Pre-colonial legal systems governed commerce, property, and public conduct, and were binding even on governors. So, Islamic law was gradually confined to the private sphere. Marriage, divorce, inheritance. Everything related to economic power was transferred to colonial courts. This was presented as modernization. In practice, it was jurisdictional displacement. The second target was economic structure. Pre-colonial economies were largely circular, with wealth moving through local markets and endowments. Colonial economies reversed this. Production was redirected toward export, local industries were undercut, and tax systems were redesigned to extract revenue. Economic resilience was replaced with vulnerability. Dependency was the model. The third target was knowledge. Colonial systems centralized education and narrowed it. Curricula were redesigned, languages of scholarship were displaced, and history was reframed to emphasize decline. The goal was not to eliminate education, but to produce functionaries, not thinkers. By controlling how a society understands its past, you control what it believes is possible in the future. The fourth target was governance. Pre-colonial administration was layered with significant local autonomy. Colonial governance flattened these structures. Borders were drawn for administrative convenience, authority was centralized, and local institutions were bypassed. This created states that appeared strong on paper, but lacked institutional depth. When governance loses mediation, it compensates with force. Finally, there was the dismantling of Waqf. These endowments funded public services independently of rulers, limiting state fiscal control. They were gradually seized or absorbed into colonial bureaucracies. Public services became budget items, and budget items became political tools. By the time colonial rule formally ended, many societies retained the appearance of sovereignty, but not the institutional architecture that once sustained them. What followed was often misdiagnosed as post-colonial failure. But the record suggests a transition from institutional societies to administrative states designed for extraction. Colonialism didn't just take resources. It dismantled systems and replaced them with structures never meant to sustain the societies that inherited them. Understanding this history does not romanticize the past. It clarifies the present. Because long-term stability is not built on slogans or borders. It is built on institutions. For History Watch, I'm YAMO. Good night.